Over the past 10 years since our first summit, it feels like we've gone from future tense to past tense without stopping in the present. Just a decade ago, solar and wind were financially uncompetitive, 10 times their current cost. For all practical purposes, 10 years ago, there was no such thing as electric cars or grid batteries. Significant impacts from climate were decades away, and a 20% reduction in emissions was considered a pretty big deal. But it's a whole new world right now. Wind and solar are not only our cleanest energy sources, they're also by far our least expensive. Clean electricity, almost all new utility scale energy in the world today is wind or solar. Coal and gas need subsidies. 72 countries have already reached 100% renewable electricity or have passed laws to reach it before 2050. Electric cars. All major auto producers will discontinue internal combustion engine cars by 2030 or 2035. They have little choice. 14 countries, California, 54 cities around the world have already announced bans on fossil fuel cars. And of course, financial markets are quickly moving that way too. You can see it in the inflows to the bond markets, in the clean economy stock valuations like NextEra Energy and Tesla. Tesla is now worth more than Ford, GM, Volkswagen, and Toyota combined. Biden's International Climate Summit last week showed us again that the world is coalescing around 100% clean energy by 2050. So for most organizations and cities, 50% by 2030 or 100% by 2050 isn't a stretch goal. It's coming in very last place. You're not leading, you're doing the least you possibly can. Okay, so we've all seen the accelerating wildfires, unusual weather, storms, freezes, floods, drought shows, sea level rise, but we're not paying as much attention as we should to species extinction, biodiversity, human migration, health, or even the massive economic cost of climate damage and adaptation. We are at an inflection point. Global warming is not a separate or side issue anymore. It's already the #1 threat to our health and well-being. It's already the top issue in international security and economic development. So that's what we're facing, an emergency with permanent tipping points here or in the near horizon that will make our present climate crisis seem benign. So what do? Let's start with the real problems. What's the largest use of polluting energy in America and the world? Transportation, industry, electricity? No. The biggest use of dirty fossil fuels in the world is producing dirty fossil fuels. Drilling, mining, refining, and transporting all that fossil fuels consumes about 1/4 of all the energy we use on the planet. What's the second biggest use of dirty fossil fuels? Waste. I'm not talking about leaving your lights on. Industry always tries to make waste a demand issue, to blame us consumers, but it's really a supply issue. We don't have choices. Fossil fuels are a very inefficient way to make electricity or power ground transportation. 80% of the energy used to power our internal combustion cars goes to wasted heat, not moving us forward. Coal and methane electricity plants waste over half the energy they make on heat, not electricity. So the first thing that we need to do as fast as we can is electrify everything and get that electricity from renewable energy sources. That will not only clean our air and water and save the planet, it will reduce our overall energy use by about 40% and save trillions of dollars. What's stopping us? It's not technology, it's not money that's in the way of our transition to a clean economy, it's injustice and complacency. The denial of climate science, the obfuscation of facts and truth for political and corporate or personal financial gain holds us back. Our polarized politics are a symptom, not a cause of this greed and malfeasance. As Megan said, there are 3 principles that can help us overcome obstacles and accelerate the transition to a clean energy economy. The first thing is ambition. The goals of 50% by 2030 and 100% by 2050 are in no way assured. Even if we reach those targets, it's not enough to keep the planet from overheating. We need to up our ambition. Think 100% by 2040. We need to emulate what the Biden-Harris administration is doing. Move forward with what needs to be done now, not with compromises or delays that will ensure a calamitous future. We all need to up our ambition in our personal lives, in our companies and communities, and with policymakers. If someone says they're going 50% by 2030, challenge them to do it in half the time, or even 100% by 2022, next year. It's possible. As they say, just do it. The second thing we have to focus on is restoration. Nature takes care of us. Thriving nature helps us be mentally and physically healthy. It helps children adjust and get better grades. It gives us clean air and clean water for free. Nature was in balance, no waste, no pollution, and then we came along and started burning fossil fuels. We need to reestablish balance in our communities, farms, and our forests. If we can restore thriving nature, we will restore ourselves and go a long way to solving the climate change problem. The Nature Conservancy says that natural climate solutions, forests, agriculture, grasslands, and more, have the potential to remove 21% of our carbon pollution, more than the pollution from all the cars and trucks on the road today. The third thing that we focus on is justice. Americans struggle with justice. Many of us don't really get racial justice or environmental justice. We don't understand how deeply institutionalized racial, health, education, and economic disparities are in America. 96% of us say that all Americans have a right to live in a healthy environment with clean air and clean water. But when you dig a little bit deeper, only 74% say they will support climate action if it helps nature, and only 44% will support climate action if it advances justice. So 96% of people say that we have a right to clean and air, water, but only 44% we think that we should act on that. Do you live near a refinery or a coal power plant? Probably not. Do you live next to a highway with thousands of cars driving by each day, polluting your home? Probably not. Do you see healthy, beautiful nature outside your home windows? Likely. Tens of millions of children and people are living with unhealthy pollution. They suffer from neurological damage, get lower test scores. They suffer from asthma and other lung and heart conditions because of the polluted air. And the rest of us are benefiting from their sacrifices. It's not their fault. It's not right. Each of us needs to stop watching the injustice and start acting and advocating for racial and environmental equities. We need to overcorrect them as fast as we can. Biden's plan to eliminate all lead pipes in America is a good example of what we need to do. All of it now. All children need the same level of spending and opportunity from our public school systems. Parks in lower income communities should be as big and as nice as they are in wealthier communities. We should encourage jobs and investment in low income communities with economic development zones. There's so much we can do if we all use our influence in our workplaces and communities to advance policies and practices that center racial justice and environmental justice in America. So that's my take on our progress, our priorities, and principles for climate action. We see the problems. We have competent and responsible federal leadership. Now's the time to ask. And let me just close with a bit on ecoAmerica. We start with people and build climate leadership. 91% of Americans say they are concerned about climate change now, 48% very concerned. Most of them aren't doing anything because no one is asking them and no one's helping them. So at ecoAmerica, that's what we're working on. We work to bring faith, health, and local communities together in action on climate change. We support 100 national partner organizations with robust programs, research, training guides, and much more. People are told they can't do anything about climate change. It's the same tactic as blaming them for waste. It deflects the attention from the true problem and disempowers people from addressing it. Everyone listening to this belongs to organizations and lives in communities. It's your responsibility to bring up climate change in those venues and motivate them to action. Use ecoAmerica's Let's Talk and Moving Forward guides. Join our ambassador training programs, subscribe to our leaders, and join our leadership circles. Alone, we can do little, but together, in groups, we can do so much. Lastly, I just want to honor all of you. It's heartening working alongside you, your commitment, your energy, they keep us going. Thanks for all you do. Onward and back over to you, Vanessa and Megan. Thanks so much.